What is up guys, West Tech Gaming here, doing unboxing / reviewing Dr. Dre, the Chronic album. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I wanted to go back and do a review video of this because I think this album needs a review on this channel because it's definitely a monumental hip hop album and it definitely changed the game when it came to hip hop. Definitely any day, the Chronic did. It brought Dre brought in different sounds in all the songs and everything, and he kind of changed it up a little bit with songs like Nothing But G Thing, Let Me Ride. Look at those songs, for example. The sound is so amazing on those songs and it's so different and unique at that time. And this album is a definite must-have for any hip-hop fan, but not even just any hip-hop fan, any music fan, because I think a lot of people will appreciate the sound in all these songs, all the samples used and everything in this album. I think a lot of people will appreciate it. So I think it's more than just hip-hop fans will appreciate this. Other people into music will like this as well. Anyway, let's take a look at this and see what we got. Now, this is the remastered one because I've not had a chance to go and pick up the original one because either it's been too expensive or I've just not even found it. But we've got on the front, we've got the classic artwork from the Chronic album. Definitely such a classic album this is. And it kind of have some, this is featuring over here Snoop Dogg, the DOC, and we got Daz, Rage, and RBX in there. So also a quick backstory behind this album, right? Everyone was very excited to hear more from Snoop Dogg back then because obviously everyone heard the soundtrack for Deep Cover. Deep Cover came out and everyone was wanting more from Snoop Dogg. They wanted more from him. His delivery was so unique at the time and the way he was rapping was so unique at the time. His style, his flow. So everyone was very excited to hear more from Snoop Dogg, and they did get to hear more from Snoop Dogg from here, as they did through Remastered in it. So you got that right there. And we'll take a look at the side. It says The Chronic, Dr. Dre. And on the back, you got the classic songs. Okay, I'll pull up my favorite ones, okay? I've got F with Dre Day, like that song a lot. Let Me Ride, Nothing But G Thing, Lil Ghetto Boy. And one thing I'll tell you, the sound on this, the samples used on this, is definitely very, different it is from a lot of hip hop albums at that time. Because that's what Dre does. Dre doesn't just pick up one genre of music and sample off that one genre of music. He samples of everything. Like you can watch one of his interviews and he will tell you he samples of everything pretty much. He samples from a wide range of music. So that means his sound is unique and his music will always be unique compared to everyone else out there. And that's why all his albums, go and look at all his albums, right? They're very unique because obviously the samples he decided to use, because a lot of people wouldn't maybe even want to use those samples and think that they would actually be good. So that's why this album is definitely very unique. The sound on it, man, everyone featured on it, which just made it such a hit. But that's your track list right here. I don't need to say anything about it. When you see this track list, you know it's such a classic track list. You got the Death Row logo over there. It says executive producer Suge Knight. Another thing is why it says executive producer Suge Knight, they couldn't put Dre's name on it. They couldn't put Dre's name on it because obviously if they write executive producer Dr. Dre, then some of the money has to go to Eazy-E. And that's why Eazy-E always says, if you always hear him say, at that time, he always says Dre Day is Eazy's payday. Because obviously if Dre puts his name down on anything, in any song, anything like that, puts his name down on anything, pretty much, Eazy-E gets paid. So that's pretty much what happened, So that's why they put executive producer Suge Knight, so they could avoid, having to pay Eazy-E at that time, So that's kind of why it says Suge Knight everywhere on all the Death Row albums and stuff like that instead of Dr. Dre. So that's pretty much what it looks like. And what we'll do is we'll look at the records itself and see what we get. On the inside, you get a nice wee sleeve, right? We've got a nice picture of Dr. Dre with a lowrider right there. It looks pretty cool, that does. Really cool. And then the back is your track list right there, and it pretty much tells you who's in the songs and who's featured in the songs and everything like that. So that's pretty much what it tells you. Like with every album, pretty much the same was in the back over here, but they put it over here, so that's pretty cool. And they give you a nice picture, which is always nice. This is. So put it to one side. One thing I did like compared to the original one, I like how they put like the Chronic kind of logo on the record. That looks sick, that does. Now on the original one, it's just a white label and it just has your track list on it. I like the way they presented it over here with the Chronic logo on it, because the original ones I saw, they only had a white sticker on it with the track list on it, which looked kind of boring, it did, but obviously the sound will probably sound better because it's not remastered, but that's one thing I did like about that. But that's your track list on side number A of LP number 1, really classic is. Got all those classic tracks in there. And side number B, we got all these tracks over there, right? But then we go to side number C. Got some more classic tracks right there. And then we go to side number D right there. So that's all your tracks right there. I'm definitely feeling that Chronic logo on there. It looks pretty sick, that does. So that's very much what's on your records, right? Now, I kind of give you a wee kind of insight of how I feel about this album. It's definitely one of my favorite albums in hip hop. Definitely any day, right? It was definitely a shift when this album came out. The music was shifting. It was going more to the G-Funk sound, you know what I mean? It was more going towards that. Because if you look at Snoop Dogg's album, like the Doggy Style album, and all the stuff they released at Death Row, it was kind of shifting towards that kind of type of sound it was, you know. And a lot of great artists was featured on this album. Also, another thing I want to say is, you know, the Lady of Rage, right? She should have got more credit where credit was due, because obviously she was going to release her album and it was going to release during the time of like the Dog Food album, you know, during that time, right? But then it kept getting pushed and pushed down the line, right? And that's one thing I'll never understand, because obviously you heard the single Afro Puff, she was like rapping it early, you know, during this time. But then when it was time for her to come with her album, no one was really like putting it together really, you know, and then by then Dre left, and you know, and obviously a lot of people felt lost when Dre left Death Row. They felt lost because obviously he was giving them a lot of guidance. He may not been, you know, doing as much as people were saying, you know, because obviously you had like the whole, you know, the whole thing where they were saying that Dre wasn't making some of the beats, you know, some people were, you know, doing it for him, stuff like that. But I just think the artists just needed that guidance and just that reassurance that they were doing the right thing and to point them in the right direction. I think that's what it was, regardless of what he was doing in the studio and stuff like that. It doesn't matter. I think they just needed that guidance, and that's what they were missing at that point. Because obviously, you seen what happened to the Lady of Rage's album afterwards. You know, the whole disaster with Death Row, the whole like events that happened. Pretty much they were just releasing anything out at that point. Obviously they were just fishing anything out, and I guess it looks like they just rushed her album and they never got the credit like it should have gotten, you know. I think if Dre did more production on it, I think it would have been a little bit more better, you know. Not to say it was a bad album, but I'm just saying maybe it would have been a little more better, you know. And that's why you see the Dogfather album, right? The Dogfather album, it was a loss of direction, I felt like, you know, because I think obviously with Dre going, you know, in the DOC was a big help with that album, you know. They were a big help with his Doggy Style album, and obviously when it was time for his Dogfather album to come out, it was just kind of a confusion. What do I do next? Where do I go next? There's no Dre saying, okay, go and do this. There's no DOC saying, okay, maybe we should add this in the song to make it a little bit more better, you know. So that's kind of what it was maybe with the whole thing with what happened at Death Row, you know what I mean? And I think I kind of, you know what I mean, there's a lot of things that would have happened if Dre stayed at Death Row. He would have released a Chronic number 2. He did end up releasing it, which was the Chronic 2001. But if you look at it, right, if you have all the original CDs, all the original stuff, look at all the small print. It says like Dre was going to release this, or this person was going to release it. It tells you what they were going to release. Look at All Eyes on Me original. It tells you like all the stuff that Dre was going to release, all the stuff that Death Row was going to release. They had a lot of potential going on, and it's unfortunate what happened, you know what I mean? And I wish that wouldn't kind of would have happened, you know what I mean? Because obviously, I think you would have got a lot more talent, you know what I mean? There was a lot of talent that was there, and there was just not a lot of people were doing something with it, you know? And I think they just needed that person there, like Dre, to kind of work with the talent a little bit more, and other people as well. You know, it's kind of unfortunate what had happened with Death Row and stuff like that, because they were such a great company. They were putting a hit after hit. Look at all the records that they were putting out. You got the Chronic, you got Doggy Style, you got the Dog Food, you got the Murder Was His Case soundtrack, you got Above the Rim soundtrack, so on and so on, right? Then you had All Eyes on Me coming in and stuff like that. So it's unfortunate what happened, and if they still would have been here. I think if Dre stayed, they still would have been here today. You know, we all know what happened pretty much. You know, Dre felt like he lost his creative control. And that's the main thing that Dre wanted, was his creative control. And he didn't like how Suge Knight was bringing all his gang members in and stuff like that. He doesn't really work like that pretty much. And it's just kind of unfortunate how they all worked out. And I felt like maybe they should have been a little bit more respectful with each other and, you know, done their thing. But try singing it to Suge Knight, but okay. But anyway, this is such a classic album. I maybe was kind of rambling on about it. But with this album reviews, right, I like to give a quick backstory of these albums as well. I don't like just to review it and just give my thoughts on it, because I think it's a classic album, hands down. Any hip hop fan should go and pick this up. I like to also give a backstory of kind of what was going on about that time, because a lot of people don't know, or a lot of people just want to know more about it, or a lot of people just want to, you know, hear it again, what happened at that time, you know. So that's why I kind of do it, you know, and that's why I just like to make it more interesting, the video, and just say, you know what I mean, all the knowledge I have for it. That's why I like to listen to my old school music, my old school hip hop music, because it brings back a lot of great memories of back in the day, how different everything was, and how good the music was back then. I think back then we just didn't appreciate it as much back then, you know what I mean, because we didn't know music was going to turn to this. Appreciation for all these albums now. But definitely a classic album, definitely go and pick it up. You know, I think everyone will enjoy this album no matter what music you listen to, no matter what genre of music you listen to, because of the sounds and the samples in this album. That's why I think a lot of people will appreciate it, and the artists that were featured in the album as well. You know, it's definitely a very unique album in the hip hop game. I'm hoping Dr. Dre does release another Chronic album soon, you know. I think we need another Chronic album in hip hop, you know. We need another Chronic album. Let's hope he does bring another one out soon. But that's pretty much it for this video right here. Leave a like if you like this video right here. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And I'll catch you guys next time.